So I'm standing back there as we're singing, and I'm trying to discern if what I'm hearing is a message for me or a message for you. And so as I'm standing here, I get the sense that it's both. So I'm going to have one or two sentences, and then we're going to just pause, and we're all going to bow our heads. We're going to close our eyes and have a very short prayer that God has given me, and then we'll go into the message. So here's what I'm just back there started thinking. With everything that's going on in the world today, we have the ability to think past the present and miss His presence. With everything that's going on today, we can be sitting in church and our mind be on any number of other things, which then distracts us from our ability to focus on His presence with us. So with that in mind, I'm simply inviting you to join me in a very short prayer with the intention of being consciously aware of connecting with His Spirit and connecting with Him while we're here. Okay, let's close our eyes, and again, it's a very short prayer. Father, we thank You for hearing our prayer. This morning we pray that You would lead us. As I encourage everyone here to relax and rest. Relax and rest in Him. Relax and rest in His presence. Relax and rest in His love. Relax and rest in His arms. Relax and rest in Him. Amen. So over the years, I've read some uniquely titled books. But the title of this next book I found quite intriguing. I'm not sure if you can read the title. The title of the book, as you can see here, it's got a, that guy, unfair, walking a tightrope. So it's not a monkey. What is that? Baboon? Is that a baboon? Yeah. Okay, walking a tightrope. The name of the book is The Lunatic Magniloquence of Henry E. Pankey. Revised, expanded, and I can't read the rest. I didn't realize it said that. Okay. By Patrick Carlisle. But here's a quote from this book. Here's what he says. I love this. A great man in his querulous twilight years doesn't want to go gently into that blacky black night. He wants to cut loose, dance on the rager's edge, pry the lid off his bucket list. Isn't that great? What a great visual imagery that gives you. Pry the lid off your bucket list. It's as though some time ago he had placed the lid upon the bucket and set it aside for who knows how long. But then, with his twilight years approaching and perhaps pondering his own mortality, he brings it out again, and with hope and anticipation, he pries the lid off of his bucket list. I love that. Which leads me to ask you, how many of you have an actual bucket list? Anybody? Few of us? Most people will put things on their bucket list like travel to an exotic land, spend a month in a foreign country, maybe organize the kitchen drawers. But there are a select few who have wholeheartedly engaged their creativity. For example, This first one comes from a freshman in high school. He says he wants to arrive at high school in a hot air balloon. Not bad, right? Now, this next one, I have to confess, I read it wrong, and I thought it said blonde, like blonde, but it's Bond, as in James Bond. Here it is. Date a Bond girl. I thought it said date a blonde girl at first. I'm like, yeah, all right. All right. Make the best grilled cheese sandwich ever. It gets better. I like this next one. Get a parrot and teach it to say I love you in a British accent. How cool would that be? Jump in a taxi and shout, follow that car. Text a random number with the phrase, I see you, and you have 7 days. Pretty creative. What I find so fascinating about this whole bucket list idea is, I mean, let's say ever since you were a high school freshman, you have been dreaming of arriving at school in a hot air balloon. And now you're about to be a freshman in college, and you have connections, and you are about to make your dream come true. You have it all lined up. In exactly 1 month, you will land on your college campus in a hot air balloon, right in the middle of the courtyard where everybody can see. In 1 month, you will step out of that hot air balloon dressed in a light blue tux and a fancy top hat, fog machines and flashing lights while your friend plays the bagpipes. And all of this will happen in 1 month. Imagine the excitement, the anticipation, growing and growing. It's going to be great. I can't wait. It's going to be great. I can't wait. It's like this day will never get here. And then in the blink of an eye, the big day has come and gone. It's over, done, and behind you. You were so excited for so long, and in what seems like a flash, it's a memory. It's like it jumped from the anticipation of a future event to a memory of the past so fast. And when it's over, it's over. All that building of excitement and anticipation, and will that day ever arrive? And now it's over. What was once on the horizon is now in the rearview mirror. And that leaves you feeling kind of like, okay, now what? Now what? And I know we cannot live for those bucket list moments, but we all have those moments that leave us feeling like, now what? Now what? And it's in those now what moments that we can fall victim to the emptiness. Life was full of excitement, and now it's just kind of blah. Now it's just kind of empty feeling. And when it's just kind of blah, it's kind of like being emotionally or spiritually dehydrated. When our physical bodies get dehydrated, we know what to do, right? We grab some Gatorade, we chug some water, and if you get severely dehydrated, it can be really dangerous. There are some symptoms of dehydration. First, you get thirsty, of course. Then you get irritable. There's fatigue, confusion, weakness. And if it goes on long enough, it can become life-threatening. So it's a problem, but it's a problem we know how to fix, right? When we get dehydrated, we hydrate. We grab some Gatorade. We grab some water. And that works fantastic when our body gets dehydrated. But what do we do when our soul gets dehydrated? What do we do when our soul feels blah and empty? What do we do when we feel like the psalmist who wrote, "O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you. And in a dry and weary land where there is no water." Pretty descriptive, isn't it? Our knee-jerk reaction usually is to lean into what we already know. I'll quench the thirst of my soul with a big achievement. I'll quench the thirst of my soul with some extra vacation time. I just need a break. I'll quench the thirst of my soul with a new relationship. That ought to do it. I'll quench the thirst of my soul with a substance of some kind. And many of you over the years have tried and discovered that doesn't work. If you just live for bucket list moments, the moment doesn't last. It can satisfy for a moment. And in the blink of an eye, it's over, it's done, and it's behind you. Now, I don't mean to brag. I'm not trying to show off. I'm not trying to impress you. Next week, we're talking about pride, so I better not be. But I have this amazing gift. I have the ability to really devour some chocolate cake. I mean, just devour that chocolate cake, and it satisfies for a moment. It satisfies until I blink, and that whole 3-tier chocolate cake is now half a tier, and I can't stand up, and I really need to loosen my belt. So it just doesn't last. What we're doing is we're looking to quench the dryness of our soul with something. And that's okay, it's understandable. But the problem is, when we're living in search of bucket list moments, when that's what we're trying to do, when that's how we're striving to rehydrate our soul, what we're really doing is we're trying to satisfy that permanent thirst with a temporary fix. And you can't satisfy a permanent thirst with a temporary fix. John declares the inability of the temporary to satisfy. Here's what he says. He's kind of delineating between the things of the world and the things of the Father. He says, "Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, except for chocolate cake," you caught me. "For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of our eyes, the pride of life, all of that comes not from the Father, but from the world. And the world and its desires will pass away." In fact, that's what Ecclesiastes says. Ecclesiastes says, chasing after the things of this world is like chasing after the wind. Good luck with that. So what are we supposed to do when our soul is dehydrated? What do we do when our soul feels empty? Throw another dream in the bucket list? Where does that permanent thirst quenching come from? In thinking about that today, I thought it would probably be a good idea to let Jesus answer that question. Here's what he said. "Anyone who drinks this water," talking about, again, still the things of this world, "anyone who drinks this water will soon become thirsty again. But those who drink the water I give," says Jesus, "will never be thirsty again." The permanent fix to your permanent thirst is the presence of Christ within you. The Spirit of Christ is a wellspring of living water within you, refreshing your soul, reviving your spirit, rejuvenating you. How about this? You're going to love this. Matthew 11. I read this first part, and it's kind of like in what we said earlier. Somebody's watching me. It says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened." And you're like, watching me? "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened. And I might, if you're good enough, rich enough, kind enough, beautiful enough." Amen. "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. And you will find rest for your souls." Wow. You will find rest for your souls. And that sounds so incredibly wonderful. But you know what I struggle with? I don't always feel that way. Last week, if you remember, we looked at the book of Ruth, and it said, "I went away empty." No, it said, "I went away full, and I came back empty." Remember that? I went away full, and I came back empty. And when I said that, some of you were thinking, not me. I went away full, and I came back overfull, overloaded, overwhelmed. It's just too much for me. But it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Jesus is offering us an alternative, a different way of life. Now, I believe one of the things we love so much about New Year's is this idea of a fresh start. But Jesus is offering us the opportunity to start fresh, to start rested. That's why I retitled today's message, "Start Fresh, Resting in an Exhausting World." And what a better place to start fresh than at the start of God's Word, the book of Genesis. I want you to notice as I read that it kind of has a pattern to it. In fact, technically this is written as a poem, and you can kind of see that. Genesis 1. "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and he called the darkness night. There was evening, and there was morning the first day." And that pattern there repeats itself. It says, day 3, day 4, day 5. God created. He saw that it was good. There was evening and there was morning, day 4. God created. He saw that it was good. There was evening, there was morning, day 5. And then we come to day 6. So God created mankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God saw all that he had made. And unlike what he said earlier, remember earlier he said it is good. What does he say now? He says it was very good. And then the pattern repeats. There was evening and there was morning the 6th day. You see anything unusual in that pattern? It says there was evening and there was morning. Friends, that's not how the day works, right? The day doesn't start in the evening. It starts in the morning. The day starts when we slam off the alarm clock, stumble out of bed, take a shower, get dressed, get a barrel of coffee, eat breakfast, and off to work we go. There's morning and then there's evening. That's how the day works. We get up, we go to work. After we work, then we rest. That's how the day works. There's morning and then there's evening. But that's not what God says. God says there's evening, then there's morning. Why? God is introducing an alternative rhythm to our lives. A rhythm that does not start with work, it starts with rest. And someone is thinking, "That's cute, Jeff. Morning, evening, morning, evening, tomato, potato. What's the big deal? Maybe this will help. Let's think about this from the perspective of the Israelites, okay? At this time in our history, the Israelites people were slaves. And as slaves, they literally were building the empire that was enslaving them. They helped make the roads that the Egyptian armies would march on. They helped build the monuments that declared Pharaoh's greatness. But do you know what they did more than anything else? More than anything else, they made bricks. They worked sun up to sundown making bricks. So the number one most important question to the slave was when their slave master came and stood in front of them with their clipboard and looked them in the eye and would ask, "How many bricks did you make today? How many bricks did you make today?" And in Genesis 1, God has an amazing message for the Israelite people and by extension us. And here's his message. He says, "I'm not Pharaoh. I'm not a taskmaster. I'm different. Your life is not the life of a slave. I have designed a different rhythm of life for you, my children. Because your value is not anchored to what you do. Your value is not calculated by how many bricks did you make. Your days will start not when the sun rises. Your days will start with rest. Because your value comes not from what you do, but from what God says about you." And God said to his people, "I created you. I looked upon you. And before you did anything, before you built a single brick, I smiled upon you. And I didn't just say you were good. I said you were very good. I said that you were created in my very image." God says, "You are my masterpiece. And I have a different rhythm of life for you. A rhythm that doesn't start with work, it starts with rest." Why? Reason number 2, to rest and to trust. To rest is to trust that what God has done is enough. To rest is to trust that what God has done is enough. Now, I don't know about you, but I think about this and I think I am so incredibly grateful that the world today is so much different than the world back then. I mean, aren't you really, really grateful that we're not making bricks for Pharaoh today? Aren't you really glad that through all of our technological advancements and our social progression, that the world is completely different today? Aren't you glad we don't check our email 6 times a day on Saturday just in case we missed a call from the boss and therefore an opportunity to make one more brick? Aren't you glad we don't run to social media to see how many likes you have so you know how special and important you are? And just in case you haven't picked up on my kind-hearted sarcasm yet, one more. Aren't you glad the first question you ask somebody new is, "What do you do for a living? How many bricks do you make a month?" Jesus is saying, "I have a better way for you." And that better way is we're going to put that brick down and we're going to start fresh. We're going to start our day with rest. Now, just so you can't go home and call your boss and say, "Hey, I got a free get-out-of-work card from my pastor," let's define rest. Because rest has a broader definition than we may be thinking. For us as believers, rest is whatever focuses us on the goodness of God. Rest is whatever focuses us on the goodness of God. So rest can be sleep. All the new parents shout hallelujah. Rest can be a worship song that draws you in to His presence. Rest can be a good meal with friends. Rest can be spending time in God's Word. Rest can be laughing with friends or playing golf with a buddy or riding your motorcycle. Rest can be walking outdoors and just being incredibly aware of the goodness of God. And yes, of course, rest can be relaxing into His presence as you pray and talk and listen with Him. Rest is whatever focuses us on the goodness of God. God has called us to a rhythm that starts with rest. So when God said those beautiful words, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," what He was doing was He was extending an invitation to you. An invitation to a different rhythm of life. A rhythm that doesn't start with work, it starts with rest. A rhythm that reminds us of how great our God is, how loving our God is, how compassionate our God is, how patient our God is. A rhythm of life that reminds us of what God has done, is doing, and will continue to do throughout all of eternity. Friends, you have received a personal invitation from the giver and sustainer of life, the one true source of that living water that hydrates your soul. An invitation not just to a fresh start, but the ability to start fresh. To restart, refreshed, revived, and renewed. I don't know about you, but that sounds really, really good to me. Let's pray. Father, we thank you this morning for the way you've given us this compilation of writings that we call the Holy Bible. We thank you that it gives us everything we need to navigate this world, even when it comes to being reminded of how important it is to rest, to spend intentional time focused upon your presence. We just want to say thank you for that very kind reminder this morning. Thank you, Father. We pray in Jesus' name.